I can give you a couple paradigm shifts in my own life if you've got
Yeah,
time
sure.
for them. I'll give you a couple that two work different ways. The one paradigm shift was my family originated, three of my grandparents are from Ireland, the others from what was then Bohemia and now is around Prague, so Czech Republic. But I had grown up, so all my grandparents were immigrants to the U.S. And I grew up with all the stories of Ireland, so I always wanted to go back to Ireland to see the home of my grandparents and all that. And it always just seemed like a big jump to me that, I was there in Dallas and how, Ireland just seemed miles away.
Yeah.
And one time I entered a contest where the prize was a free trip to Ireland. And I said, wow, this is my chance. I was write the essay and all that. I didn't win, but my paradigm shift came where I was having breakfast with another friend and I was telling her about this dream. I wanted to go see the family home, etc. And she said, well, it's not that expensive to go to Ireland. We were in Dallas at the time, and she said, I knew you could fly to LA, it'd be just about as expensive and live there in a hotel or something, then fly to Ireland
Right.
and then it was like, kind of the scales dropped up my eyes, and she said, yeah, look at the Sunday paper. I looked and, 10 days B&B, flight and everything. So I got my girlfriend at the time, and we went to Ireland. Great time. Visited the family farm and everything, but that paradigm shift of why did I think it was going to Europe and everything was such a obstacle to overcome
Yeah.
than going to LA or so, and there was really the same. So after we did that, because we went to Ireland because the language is basically English there. And then next year we said, hey, let's go to Germany, So that started my travel overseas. So, that was a kind of a paradigm shift.
It was a shift in your thinking.
It wasn't.
And sometimes it just takes just a little thing that happens in somebody's life to make them make that shift, and think of things differently. Okay, so what was your second one?
Okay, the second one is kind of a reverse thing. This was back around 2007 when Chen Shui-bian was president, and I went with 4 academics or advocates from the U.S., and we went to Europe to 7 capitals to advocate for Taiwan, get more acceptance and whatnot. And so we went to 7 capitals in Europe. We went to Brussels, Paris, London, Prague, Warsaw, Budapest, and can't remember the other. Vienna, and that one, because also when you grow up in the U.S., most of your immigrants, the country was built from colonizers from Europe and all that, people coming for freedom, different things, to start a new life, build a city on the hill. And so we always, at least, I would kind of, from education, you always look, well, the Europeans had so many experiences in diplomatic things and wars and power struggles and everything, whereas in the U.S. we had our Civil War, but we were basically pretty isolated. And so we went there, and I was expecting to find so many people with wisdom, and I didn't.
What do you mean by the wisdom that you're talking about?
In a sense that, and I hope they don't take this as too detracting away, but they didn't know anything about Taiwan. The world affairs over here. They were so concerned in their own struggles over there. We were advocating for the whole issue of Taiwan, versus China, democracy, and all that. This is again in 2007. So I always say this, and I came away that, because we met with legislators, we met with media, we met with professors, and not that many people had answers.
Yeah.
And I was expecting much better answers or wisdom, or I
Right.
realized there aren't that many smart people in the world. I don't know if that sounds too derogatory or not, but I think it was more a realization that sometimes you can set people up on a pedestal and they don't belong there.
Yeah. I feel like that happens a lot sometimes.
They didn't know anything that was happening over here. So we're talking about 2007, the last years of Chen Shui-bian, and what will later on come, and all that.
Yeah, because I feel like Taiwan, for some reason, I mean, one, talking back about those countries, is their mindset is not an international global thing. They're only, probably worried about stuff in Europe and da-da-da. Taiwan is way far, like
Right.
what you thought before. Yeah, but so they would not.
They've got to worry about the Russian there.
Yeah, exactly.
All the different things, or all the radical things that.
Yeah, so in one way, I feel like being part of because it's going back. Taiwan it's still the same. A lot of people don't know about Taiwan now. They think that we're Thailand. A lot of people think we're Thailand. But I think the thing about the paradigm shifts that you were talking about is I feel that once we ourselves have a more open mind and shifts in our own perception about things, that we're able to be more open and accept that other people's haven't gotten there yet, or they're just not there.
A different type of example about this would be, say, like Brexit. How many people do you know in the UK that regret Brexit?
Because they didn't understand it. Because oftentimes I feel like, like you were just talking about earlier, about going to all those protests, I'm sure, Vietnam War, maybe some things that were happening in, what was that university?
Civil rights?
Civil rights, all kinds of stuff. There's one particular college in California that was really, what's the name of that?
California.
No, there was one specific college that was really known for. Always, but so that's the thing, is that so many
in San
people,
Francisco, I think.
so many people attend those rallies and attend those riots or protests or stuff. They don't really know the real situation. They just go with the flow, and they just go with what people think or what they hear. I mean, a lot of that is happening in the U.S., and we won't talk about the U.S., but it's the people don't educate themselves, but they will still be part of something that they don't understand. And they can have opinions of things that they really don't know much about, which is, fine. But in one way, it's fine. But for this global home thing that you're trying to bring about or trying to get, they probably take a little bit longer time than other people to accept that concept, in terms of being outside of where they are.